Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of entitled people. In today's episode, entitled people think it's okay to use the private property where I live as they please. My sister is a Karen. Karen can't comprehend swimming lessons. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled people think it's okay to use the private property where I live as they please. I think this story does belong here, since it's about people completely disregarding what private property means. I decided to write it after an incident last week, but this is something that has been happening for at least 12 years. I'll start off with some background in order to explain why this situation has become so infuriating by now, so I know in advance it's going to be long. I live in a small apartment building on a very busy street with a small plaza with a school right across the street, as well as plenty of shops and banks around. So you can imagine there are way too many people passing by every day. Almost all apartment buildings have their main entrance right on the sidewalk, but in our case it's different. In order to get to the building entrance, you enter a short and tiny path, a few steps long, which has a staircase to the basement on the left side and a few steps going up on the right. So you go up the steps and there is a little open space with the building door. This path is obviously part of the private property that comes with the building, and it's obvious from the fact that it is between the building and the adjacent piece of land and is not part of the public sidewalk. This, however, has not stopped people from using this open space as they please, as if they own everything here and can do whatever they want. The thing is, all residents here are also owners of the respective apartments they live in, just like the apartment I live in is owned by my family, and have been living here for at least 17 years, so you can imagine that by now they are all sick of this type of situation because it's their own actual property. The most common occurrence was people using the left staircase, the one leading to the basement, as their personal toilet. They'd literally just take a short detour from the sidewalk into our private property, go down the stairs, and do their business. Until a few years ago, when we installed metal gates to block access to the basement, this was an almost daily event. I mean, there is a pizza place right across the street, a coffee shop right next to the path entrance, and a few other coffee shops around the area, but I'm guessing people preferred our basement because it was free. I'd hear stories from my mom who would happen to be present when random pedestrians thought of using our basement, and she'd tell me how she yelled at them. I only happened to run into one person, an old man, while he was doing his business, and I yelled at him, saying, "Have you seen me come to your home to urinate? What gives you the right to do so at my home?" And when he replied, "I have a condition that requires me to visit the bathroom frequently," I said, "If you need a bathroom, there are so many places around here that actually have one, and if you need a free one, then go urinate on your own doorstep. Otherwise, don't bother leaving your home at all." People probably heard me all the way to the bus stop next block, because I was getting stares when I got there. Could have also been because of the fact that I was furious and literally shaking. The other common occurrence is young people using this area as a hangout spot and littering. Our apartment building has 3 apartments used as learning centers. One is for computers, so it gets mostly teenagers, and the other 2 are for elementary school kids. The elementary school kids come and go with their parents, so we have no problems with them. But the teenagers are a different sort. Those would sometimes use even the inside of the building, talking and smoking and littering. Thankfully, this only lasted a short while because they'd get caught by my mother and her brother. I'm not talking about waiting around for a few minutes for your friend to come downstairs so you can leave together. I'm talking about staying for over an hour, being loud and throwing trash around. As if the teenagers were not enough, during the quarantine, our property would be used as a hangout place for people of older ages as well. They'd grab coffee from the coffee shop next to the path entrance and then come to the building entrance and hang out, talk loudly, and always litter. Since then, it's more common to find trash laying around every morning than it is to not find anything. This brings me to last week's incident. It was around 1:20 a.m. when I started hearing sounds of people laughing, hitting each other, and talking loudly this late at night. There is also a chance they had come earlier and I had not noticed. After so many years, it feels like white noise if it's below a certain noise level, though that's highly unlikely because my balcony is right above the building entrance and that group was way too loud. I live 3 floors above ground. My balcony doors, which provide decent soundproofing, were closed, and those people still sounded like they were next door. It's not like I was trying to sleep and they were disrupting the silence. I was just annoyed because it was really late at night and they had no business being there in the first place. So, after waiting 20 minutes to see if they would leave, and hearing that they hadn't left, I stepped out onto the balcony to observe and see whether I would need to intervene. Upon stepping outside, I saw a big group of boys, probably within the 15 to 20-year-old range, just being too loud and acting like they were at their own home. To be honest, I usually feel a little scared when it's just me against a big group, even from the safety of my home. So I didn't immediately say anything, and being on the 3rd floor, they never noticed me. I observed them for about 10 minutes in order to make sure I needed to intervene, and to gather enough courage to do so, or rather, to gather enough anger so I would not care about being afraid, haha. After observing them for those 10 minutes, I saw that they apparently had no intent of leaving or lowering the sound levels. They were also smoking and throwing their cigarettes on the ground right in front of the building. One of them threw his still-lit cigarette in the vacant piece of land next to ours, which has green plants. At that point, I was fuming. Enough is enough. We don't need a fire on top of everything. So I was waiting for a trigger to set me off. That was when I saw one of the boys, who had left a few minutes earlier, come back with a snack. The coffee shop at the path entrance is open 24/7. Tear off a piece of the packaging, throw it on the ground, take out the snack, and throw the rest of the packaging on the ground. That was when I lost it and I suddenly yelled, in the middle of the night when none of them was expecting to hear a voice. Is that how you throw trash around in your own home? I swear, the look of shock and mild terror as he looked up was so worth it. He stuttered, "No, I am going to throw it away, I swear." I had no more patience, so I said, "You pick it up and throw it in the trash bin this very moment. Info. The trash bin is right at the path entrance, literally a few steps away from where he was standing, and all of you get up and get out of here. If you want to hang out, the plaza across the street is a fine spot." One of them tried giving me an attitude, saying, "Or what? You'll call the police?" I said, "We have every right to do so. This is private property. Go on public property, or if you have the guts, go to your own homes to be so loud and to throw cigarettes and trash around." They slowly got up and started going down the steps to exit the property. The one with the attitude tried making a joke. "It's our citizen right to be here." And I said, "For public property only. Get out of here and good riddance." I stayed there watching to make sure they all left. The one with the snack packaging was looking up the whole time as he was leaving, either to check whether I was still there or to remember my face. But they all left and didn't come back. I swear, the adrenaline rush after they left was so much. It took me another 2 hours to feel sleepy again. But it was definitely worth it, not just because I kicked out people who had no business being there in the first place, but also because I was always afraid to say anything when it was more than one person, and everything worked out well. To be honest, I was afraid of any possible retaliation from their part in the upcoming days. But so far it's been 5 days and everything is okay. Laughing face. Edit. For everyone who says to put gates up front, you are indeed absolutely right. It is something that the owners had previously discussed because the situation was too much. However, the cost was high, the owners were few, and there were still a couple of them who didn't want to pay their share, which means that the cost was even higher for those who wanted it. That was why we opted for at least blocking access to the basement for sanitary purposes, and hope to eventually come to an agreement for a gate up front. Till then, we can only keep our eyes open. This is also what a hose is for, preventing fires and cooling tempers. Or a bucket of water. Despite the extreme length of the post, there's a hell of a lot of unnecessary information in there. I don't really understand where these guys came from. Were they students from the school? Or did they get through the gates? If they are actually trespassing, then just call the police. Why even bother wasting your time by engaging with them? Get better gates and/or signs indicating that it's private property. Understand that living in what is a mixed-use commercial/private building, people will trespass. Did you really say, "Get out of here and good riddance"? You should have dumped buckets of water on them. My sister is a Karen. My sister lives in a neighborhood with an HOA. and she's always getting cited for something. It makes her really mad and paranoid about her neighbors. So she comes to visit me one day. My neighborhood does not have an HOA. We go for a walk, and when we get back to my house, my neighbor's dog is in their fenced-in yard, barking. My sister gets really annoyed with the barking and says she's going to go over and complain that they need to take their dog inside. I tell her not to do that because I like my neighbors and I don't see anything wrong with their dog barking in their own yard. And no, they do not leave him out there all day long. She tells me that her neighborhood has a noise ordinance and that barking dogs have to go inside. I tell her that my neighborhood doesn't have that, and if she starts a feud with my neighbors, I'll be extremely angry. Thankfully, she backed down, but she continued to complain about the barking. I think it's ironic that she's always in trouble with her HOA and finds fault in how others live. I guess it's projection. Tell her to go back to a noise-controlled neighborhood if she's so pressed. Karen can't comprehend swimming lessons. Some backstory: I, 16, have a little brother, 8, who I'll call B for brother. And B is autistic and has ADHD. He has swimming lessons with swim teacher, ST, and another kid, K. He has to have a smaller group for swimming lessons because he needs extra attention due to his disabilities. The local pool has 3 pools: a kids pool, a lap pool, and a warm water physiotherapy type pool. The warm water pool is generally 16 years old and up. My brother's swimming lessons take place in that pool, and as such, he and the other kid is an exception to that rule. Despite this, I and the teacher make sure that the kids don't go in people's paths and are respectful. Story takes place during B's swimming lesson. B gets in and starts doing his stuff, and I, with swim teacher's permission, get in with him to help, as he wants me and is honestly a handful even with only one other kid. So basically there's 2 people looking after 2 kids, so we have relative control over them. Thing is, right next to the area of the pool that the lessons are using, there's 2 old women standing in one spot and just gossiping about God knows what. The area of the pool has a box of children's pool toys and stuff, so pretty obvious that A, the kids are allowed to be there, and B, that there's swimming lessons there. That's fine, it's a public pool, so they're allowed to be there, as are we. Another note, there was not many people in the pool at all, and there was so much space in the pool. The kids started doing basic swimming lesson stuff, swimming up and down a bit and such. I have to walk alongside my brother as he's swimming, because he struggles sometimes, and I worry about him. As we were swimming past, one of the ladies, without looking at or acknowledging us, said, "Under 16's not allowed," in a not very nice voice. Because they didn't look at T as when they said it, I had no clue they were talking to us until a couple seconds later when I connected the dots that we were the only people that had kids there. I was kind of shocked, because WTF. I ignored them, especially since we were a bit past them when I realized they were talking about us. I think that annoyed them more, because one of the ladies sent the other out to get a lifeguard, LOL. The lifeguard, I think they were new BTW, came over and said, "Over 16's only." And the swim teacher was just like, "We have medical certificates or whatever," not a direct quote. The lifeguard understood and went back to doing their actual job. For the rest of the lesson, the ladies just stood in the same spot, probably gossiping about us, looking grumpy, and giving us major side-eye. After the lesson finished, B got out of the pool, and went to play in the lap pool. There's a lane for play, with my mom supervising him. I decided to stay in the warmer pool. Major side note, I had literally never gone in the warm water pool until I was 16, because I was terrified of getting called out / breaking the rules, so I'm taking my advantage of it now. There is no way I'm going in the colder pool after being in the warm one. These old Karen ladies kept inching closer and closer to me and just went uncomfortably close to me until we left. If it's that Karen, why? But it definitely pissed me off, especially since it was extremely obvious that it was a swimming lesson and that the kids weren't disturbing anyone. But also, mind your business, like there's a swim teacher instructing the kids and 2 people supervising them. So it's not as though they're running amok in the pool and causing chaos. Just rubbed me the wrong way, especially since it's a swim class for disabled kids, and these people can't just mind their business. When the lifeguard confirmed and walked off, I would have looked back at the old biddies and winked. I was definitely considering it, but I didn't want to cause trouble lol. We pretty much live at our pool. Every pool has their story, IES, about the old ladies marking their territory in the warm pool. It's so common that there's got to be some memes about it, although I haven't seen any. My spouse was even approached at our pool in the same way. We told them management told us it was okay. Our kid is in management there, and bought him the pass to use the pool for exercise after a stroke. Kid said, "Oh, the women who got kicked out of X pool for the same thing?" All that rambling to say, don't take it personally. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.